Welcome to Redhawks Weekly. I'm your host, Adam Shelfu, and today joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Coast. And Chris, so happy to have you on the program, the inaugural program, and we got the skipper with us here.
Well, after a long winter to be sitting here talking baseball and Redhawks baseball, of course, too. The weather's been great for us, so it feels like baseball season, so we're ready to rock.
And how exciting is this for you? I mean, it's a little different. I know you've been heavily involved with the Cobbers and still a big part of that program, but a little less on your plate this year.
Yeah, a little bit different off season for me. Usually having coached at Concordia really got me ready for the Redhawks season. Didn't really have that this year, but and especially like with our short training camp. But got to spend a lot of time with the Perham High School team. They're an incredibly strong program, so that kind of got me in the baseball mentality. Obviously a very different level, but still got to be around baseball in the spring, which was a lot of fun. And because I'm that guy that baseball's always been a huge part of my life, so I could be around a baseball field probably 365 days a year if someone paid me to do it.
There you go. That's the X factor there. Yeah. Now, I got to ask you, because a lot of people know you're a legend, but let's just get into some of your background before we get into some Redhawks. You've been a part of the baseball community in the Fargo-Moorhead area for decades.
Yeah, it was kind of I have a unique story, but it started out where I just grew up in South Fargo, played Legion baseball for Post 2, and when you were a kid in Fargo in those days, man, playing for Post 2 was almost like playing in the major leagues. You'd go to games when you're 12 and 13 years old and look at those guys like they were major leaguers. Going to the World Series every year, it seemed like with them. So played for Post 2. Went to 1 year junior college near Chicago, where you're from, and then transferred to Concordia. Had some pretty good years at Concordia, and then luckily, the year after I graduated Concordia, the Redhawks came to town, and the timing could not have been perfect. So, there's a lot of hills and valleys in my career, some down times, some upsides, but really the Redhawks coming to Fargo was probably the luckiest thing that's ever happened in my career, because it gave me a shot to continue my career. I wasn't drafted. So really the Redhawks, the reason why we're sitting here right now, for me goes back to that 1995, 1996 thing. They're which is why I'm such a huge believer in our league. It's the reason why I choose to do this when, we have options to go elsewhere and affiliated ball, maybe coach in the major leagues. But I love this level so much because it got me to the major leagues. And when I walk into the clubhouse, like even later today, I'm going to see 23 guys who are just like I was trying to make it.
That's awesome. And I got to ask, so did you go to Fargo South then?
Yeah, I was a Bruin, yep.
Okay. So you and DeBoard, who's the Bruin GOAT?
Well, I didn't play. There was no high school baseball when I played. So I'm one of those rare American major leaguers who never lettered in a high school sport. Think about that. That's kind of unique. So.
Well, no offense, but I think Roger Maris has you beat as far as Post 2 goes.
I think he's probably that guy.
Yeah, I think he's got to be. Anyway, getting into some of the action here, you guys had a up and down series against Lincoln to open the season. And one of the things that's unique about this time of year, I feel like, is just the fact that, you want to win every game, obviously, but it's also a matter of improving the team, getting you guys up to speed, because there's not really much of a tune-up, just a 2-game warm-up, and then you guys get right into it. And so when you consider your strategy as far as what's important this time of year beyond wins and losses, what goes into that for you?
Well, one of the messages that we tell our guys, and it's a pretty easy message to get across because they are highly competitive, is that we are in this to win. Yeah, they want to advance their careers. That's their goal. But winners are the ones who tend to advance their careers. So for us, winning is important. And you mentioned it's a very short training camp. So there's not as much evaluation that goes on because it's such a short time. So you really have to rely on the guys showing up, not only in shape, but kind of baseball shape, which is not easy to do because, pitchers can throw bullpens and they can throw live to hitters. But it's really tough for a hitter, for example, to get game ready without actually playing in games, which is why Major League spring trainings are so important. And if I could change one thing in our league, I would have a little bit longer training camp, not much, but enough to where you could play 5 or 6 exhibition games. And, because the evaluation, once the season starts, the evaluation never stops. In a perfect world, we'd build a roster, it'd be the same on day one and the same at the end of the year, but it really never works out that way. So it's a constant battle to try to win, because our league, anybody who's a fan of our league knows the level of play just continues to go up every single year. It used to be where 1 or 2 teams would stand out, and every year, every team, whether it's Sioux Falls, Kansas City's always good, Cleburne in Texas is amazing, the Chicago area team, so it's a constant battle for us to try to keep up. And it's a great business, but it could also be tough because you could build a pretty good relationship with the guy, or teammates get pretty close with each other, and all of a sudden one day a guy's gone. And that's probably the toughest part of my job, but that is part of the job. So it's a constant battle to win, to put an exciting product for the fans, because once again, and Evan Alexander would tell you the same thing, every one of our guys, we would love to see a full crowd every game, but the crowds are going to show up when you win, and they're going to show up when you're exciting, which if we had 23 guys like Evan Alexander, I think we'd probably sell out every game.
Got to get more Evan Alexanders.
I agree.
And so now you guys are getting ready to take on a very tough opponent. We'll get into that in a little bit, but what do you guys got to kind of clean up? What are your takeaways from that series with the Salt Dogs?
Well, I think one of the big things is just offensive consistency, and once again, that's the toughest part about this time of year, because some of the best players, it might take a few more at-bats. You know, we just talked about Evan, you know, his first at-bat, you know, he puts us up 1-0 in his first at-bat of the season, and that's not going to happen for many teams. And so, but Evan's just one guy, as is Dylan Thomas. And Redhawks teams in the past, we are very used to scoring runs. Our fans are very used to us being exciting, running around the bases, putting the ball into the parking lot, and scoring runs. And we kind of finished last year not as good at that. We haven't quite got that yet this year, but we do have the offense to do it. It's just a matter of getting a little bit of experience, maintaining confidence, and that's where the coaching staff and myself come in, and the other coaches, because as I mentioned, this can be a very tough business, so it's kind of our job in some ways to be psychologists to a certain extent. At the end of the day, the players have to take it upon themselves to succeed, but we do have to create an environment to make sure that, like, if they go 0 for 2 or 0 for 3, that the next day they're still feeling pretty good so they can succeed, because once again, they're fighting for their careers. You know, that it's not a Sunday softball league, they're trying to get to the major leagues, so they can put a lot of pressure on themselves, understandably so. So it's kind of our job to make sure that this is a good environment to be in, we're not losing confidence in anybody, things like that.
And then you guys got a really tough assignment coming up starting tonight. Everyone has been talking about it. All you can eat, well, not all you can eat, but buy one, get one free hot dogs. People have had it circled on the calendar. And so who would win in a hot dog eating contest among the Redhawks?
Yeah, in the past, there'd be so many easy answers I could throw out. You know, Chris Jacobs from the past and John Silviano in the past. But this year, it's probably Brendan Heiss. In fact, he's actually starting tonight. So I hope he's not eating, well, maybe it's a good thing he's starting on that hot dog night because he can't have any, but he might be that guy. He would be, and oddly enough, Sam Dexter doesn't really eat hot dogs. He's one of those, he's a good eater, but what he does eat, he eats a lot of. So, but Brendan Heiss would definitely be that guy. If anybody's seen Eastbound and Down, Kenny Powers, that's Brendan Heiss.
Okay, what a comp, what a comp. No, you guys, in all seriousness, do have a very tough assignment tonight. The defending champs in town, the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks against the Kansas City Monarchs, and the Monarchs, team that has just been tremendous. And you guys have had some great battles between, the rivalry. So what's got to go right against the Monarchs?
Well, the bottom line is every pitcher they throw is going to be really good. They're going to be in shape. They have a lot of guys with a lot of experience. I think that's one of the, it's not just ability, because I think ability-wise, there's a lot of teams that probably match up with them. It's just that they do have a lot of experience. But once again, the whole league is starting to catch up to that. Sioux Falls used to be one of the lesser teams. Now they're probably just as good as Kansas City. Lincoln, same thing, Cleburne. So, Kansas City is still kind of that team that people talk about, but the rest of the league really has caught up with them as far as that goes. So, But you're right, though. Kansas City, they've won the championship 2 of the last 3 years, and the 1 year they didn't, we beat them, and so they've turned into a great rivalry for us. Fans of our league know that Winnipeg was always that team for us, but now it's kind of turned into Kansas City. And even at the All-Star game last year, and Evan would tell you the same thing, the amount of Kansas City players that would come up to us at the All-Star game is like, man, playing against you guys like the World Series. That's good for us to hear, because we kind of felt the same way. So for them to say the same thing about Fargo, that was pretty cool.
And any X factors as far as getting those wins over the next stretch here?
Well, the pitch, it always starts with the pitching. And, Brendan Heiss is pitching tonight for us, and he's got a great arm, but this is really his first opportunity that he's ever been given to be opening day or to start the season as a starter. He's usually been in the bullpen, a little bit erratic. We're giving him an amazing opportunity so he can, whatever he's going to do. We did use up a pretty good amount of pitching last night, so we don't have everyone available. So how he does will have a massive impact on this game. I've told him this many times, but if Evan Alexander hits 5 homers tonight, I guarantee you we win.
Do you think he will hit 5 homers
That
tonight?
might be kind of tough, but I obviously we joke about that. But the bottom line is 1 through 9, our order does have to try to get to some consistency. And the basic thing of hitting is hit the fastball. I know it sounds pretty simple, but in the day and age where pitchers are throwing harder than ever before and they have better breaking balls than ever before, the one thing that will never change is hitters have to time and compete and do damage on fastballs. That's what Lincoln kind of did to us. That's kind of what separated us, was Lincoln really took advantage of some mistakes. They were always ready for the fastball. They got the big hits. They played good defense too, but really it was all about they really jumped on fastballs. That's what we need to do because that's what Kansas City is going to do. And their pitchers aren't going to give us a lot of room to score a lot of runs, so when we get those opportunities, we got to have the big inning when it presents itself.
And before I switch gears here and talk with Evan, I got to ask you, because everyone has such an interesting background in this league, it seems like. Where is Heiss from? What are his roots?
I'm not even sure where he's from. Oh no, he's from Texas. And the crazy thing is we were joking about this earlier, is, you know, Cleburne is the only Texas team in our league, and they have a lot of Texas guys, but I think we might have more Texas players than they do. It's kind of a testament of, well, how good baseball is everywhere, but baseball in the state of Texas is just incredible. So he's one of those Texas tough guys, and when you talk to him, you can definitely tell that's kind of who he is. He's a very proud Texan, so he'll probably pitch tonight in a belt buckle in the shape of Texas, I would guess.
Love to hear that. Any closing thoughts?
No, the bottom line is, you know, we have a great team on paper now, as does everyone else. So now it's we're trying to be exciting for the fans and things like that. But when you're a Red Hawk and you have that Red Hawks on your jersey, you know, we play to win. So that's kind of our job, is to make sure that for how amazing the Fargo Force has been, you know, we've had years like that. We're trying to keep up with something like that because the fans in this area, they're used to the Bison going to Frisco every year, which is interestingly enough where Evans is from. But the bottom line is we do know that winning in our area is really important. I'm an original Red Hawk, and I've been able to do a lot of winning in my career. I've done plenty of losing as well, but you know, the winning side of things, we know how important that is, and being exciting for the fans, and our players recognize that as well.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. You are watching Red Hawks Weekly, and we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be with outfielder Evan Alexander. Stay with us on Red Hawks Weekly.